Hello, I'm Jared Nunn, State School Fund Coordinator. Welcome to the State School Fund Beyond Basics video series. In this video, we will be digging into the High Cost Disability Grant. First, let's review the basics of the High Cost Disability Grant. This grant is a $55 million grant reimbursing districts with eligible expenditures of more than $30,000 per student. The grant is designed to help districts meet the needs of students on an individual education plan, or an IEP, when these costs are especially high. It is the State School Fund carve-out. There is a preliminary payment in May, along with a reconciliation of the prior year in May as well. Districts must report on total spending per student, and these expenditures are tracked using the Area of Responsibility 320. The preliminary payment is based on data collected in the estimate of membership and revenue, and the reconciliation is completed using the high cost disability collection. Let's take a look at some data from the past 7 years to see how our projections affect our reimbursement rate. So going from left to right, the data set shown includes the fiscal year, the type of payment, the grant amount, the total eligible students, total additional expenditures, which are the expenditures that are over the $30,000 threshold per student. There's an increase from preliminary to reconciled expenditures. There's the reimbursement rate and the decrease in reimbursement rate. So first, let's focus on 2023-24. The additional expenditures increased from preliminary to actual, almost $60,000. And that took our reimbursement rate down from 49% down to about 32%. So we really need to get our preliminary total to be much closer to our actual total. So the reimbursement rate doesn't drop so much. So if we look at the 23-24 actuals and the 24-25 preliminaries, we see that the 24-25 was projected at about $29,000 less than was spent in 23-24. So our preliminary total should be at least $170,000. And that is one way that we can get the reimbursement rate not to drop so much if we're starting much closer to our actual projections. This is something I'm working on with districts just to make sure that their total additional expenditures, the projection is much closer to the actuals that they spent last year. So if we can get every district to start there, our reimbursement rate won't be dropping from 49 to 32%. Moving on, this is the timeline for the high cost disability grants, and it looks like this. So in January of the current year, the districts submit the estimate of membership and revenue for the next year. But within the estimate of membership and revenue, we're also gathering high cost disability data projections for the current year. So in May, we make a preliminary payment based on that projection. And in March of the next year, we will have the high cost disability collection. And that's where we collect actual data on the prior year from high-cost students. And in May of the next year, we will reconcile that actual data that we collected with the projections that we paid from the previous year. Here's a look at both high-cost disability reports that we create. So the top report is the preliminary payment report. And on this report, this district estimated $100,000 on their estimate of membership and revenue collection as their additional expenditures. And so they received a preliminary payment of $49,420, and that was made in May of 2024. So during the May reconciliation of the next year, after we got the high cost disability collection in, the bottom report is the one that we create. And so this shows that this district had an actual additional expenditures of over $500,000. So this would have resulted in an actual payment of about $168,000. So after taking into consideration the preliminary payment that we made of the $49,000, we do an adjustment payment, which is about $118,000 in this case, in May of 2025. So this district had a positive adjustment, but if the numbers would have been reversed and the preliminary payment would have been paid on the $500,000 and the actual expenditures would have been the $100,000, that would have been reversed and that district would have seen a negative adjustment of that much money. So you can see how the preliminary and the actuals really make a big difference in what a district is seeing. Here's a picture of the May 2025 payment statement. And you can see at the bottom box there it shows the high cost disability reconciliation amount of $118,000. The top box is showing the preliminary payment of $93,000, and that's the preliminary payment for the current year of 2024-25. This amount will be reconciled in May 2026, and so then you'll see that reconciliation amount down below in the prior year adjustments next year. Thank you for watching the State School Fund Beyond Basics High Cost Disability Grant Training. We hope it was beneficial. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me or the State School Fund Program Manager, Vanessa Clark. Thank you.